Greetings, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in and welcome to another edition of Female Barber Talk with Yah-Tay. I am Yah-Tay Keaton, your host of the podcast, and we have a wonderful guest tonight. I'm so excited about this episode. Let me get into introducing the topic. So tonight's topic is it's episode 19. I'm so excited, y'all. Please forgive me. It's episode 19, and the title is From Cosmetology to Clippers: Thriving as a Woman in a Male-Dominated Industry. Today on the show, we have an incredible guest whose journey through the beauty and barbering industry is inspiring as well as empowering. She's a Washington State licensed instructor and cosmetologist who's been making her mark since 1998. I was in the military, y'all. But anyway, since 1998, her passion for this industry started in high school when she enrolled in a dual program that allowed her to earn her cosmetology license while completing her diploma. Despite the challenges of becoming a young mother during her senior year, she pushed through with the unwavering support of her family and graduated high school in 2000, earning her cosmetology license by March 2001. She started her career providing beauty services for both men and women, but by 2006, she was ready for a change. That change came in the form of barbering, and she fell in love with the craft. It all began at a shop called Lefty's Barbershop. I'm left-handed, y'all. I think she left-handed too. I've seen some images, but I'm gonna ask her when she come on. And even after opening shops of her own, she always found her way back to Lefty's. So when the owner decided to sell, guess what, y'all? It was only fitting that she would become the owner, a new owner in 2015. Her journey didn't stop there. She stepped into the world of barber competitions. I got an image of that, y'all. Barber competitions, quickly rising to the top from taking first place in an all-female category to winning second in a national beard and fade competition, and even placing at the largest barber expo in the United States. She's going to tell us about that. She proved that she could go toe-to-toe with the best of them. When the pandemic hit, it shifted the industry. It shifted for all of us. But it also piqued new inspiration for our guests. In 2022, she earned her instructor license and transformed her barbershop into something even greater: Barber Pros Academy. That vision grew again in this year with the opening of her second academy location in early 2025. So not only did she make the shift during the pandemic, she became an instructor, opened an academy, and then just opened a second one this year. She is a passionate educator, an accomplished competitor, a proud entrepreneur, and above all, she's dedicated to mentoring the next generation of barbers. Y'all, please help me welcome Stephanie Ruiz to the stage. All right, let's get Stephanie on here. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Yah-Tay, thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Very impressive. You held it. You held it. You stuck in there with the support of your family. You went from cosmetology to barbering. What sparked that?
I to be honest, I was getting really burned out.
Okay.
I was a lot of long hours. I would go into the salon at 6 in the morning doing bridal, doing quinceañera hair, and then
Right.
leave at like 11 o'clock, midnight doing colors.
Wow.
It was daily, daily, on top of
Okay.
being a mother.
Right,
It
right.
was just, it was becoming a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I reached out to a friend of mine and I had explained to her how I had felt. I was kind of looking at different avenues, different career choices. And she
Mm-hmm.
told me, hey, why don't you just try barbering? You know, she had been doing it for a while and she really loved
Mm-hmm.
it. And I just figured, why not give it a chance? It's still in the same industry.
Right.
It's just less hours. Fast in and out haircuts, you know,
Right.
less overhead products, and I went into it, and it just clicked. It just meshed right
Wow.
with me. Yeah, I fell in love
Wow.
with it as soon as I did it.
Wow. So 7 years of full days. How many days a week did you work?
Up to 7 days a week. Up to
Wow.
7 days. Yeah,
Wow.
I was just going to work.
So was it that you were building clientele initially and then it just continued on? How did
Yeah.
that work out?
So, unfortunately, I'm what I call a softie. I would definitely do maybe hundreds of dollars of work for pennies, and it was just really getting overwhelming. Like I just couldn't see myself progressing with the way I was giving so many deals. It was pretty much just covering the product, not even my time.
Oh,
So
wow.
I just, that was my burnout. And then once I had told the majority of my clients, hey, I'm planning on raising my prices to come close to what I should be earning,
Right.
at least on an hourly wage. Unfortunately, a lot of them weren't happy with it. And
Okay.
that was my kind of like, oh, they're not looking
Wake
out for
up.
me as
Yeah.
much as I'm looking out for them, you know, type
Right.
relationship. And it was just like, okay, I need to go somewhere else, or I need to do something else.
Now, before you got the idea about barbering, what were you considering? What other
Uh,
areas?
So I've always been interested in audio engineering. So I
Okay.
actually, in our local college, I was doing local DJing and with our community college, and audio engineering for few of the underground rap artists that were in our
Okay.
town.
So you can mix and scratch
Yeah,
there.
just
Okay.
mix, just mix, not scratch. I wish I
Okay.
could.
Okay. So
I wish.
there's a difference in mixing and scratching, huh? Oh,
Yes, definitely.
wow.
I
That
can put
that
the
brings
music
back
together.
so many memories.
Yes, I could tell an artist, okay, you're too high or you're too, we need to be able to match. I could do that. So I
Okay, so
actually,
no turntable, no
no,
getting on the turn. Okay, so
no.
when I think about and audio engineering, that I guess that's encompass a lot of things, right? But when I hear it, I instantly think about on the turntables,
Yes,
mixing and scratching, but it's bigger than that. So
definitely.
how did that interest, where did that come from? That interest?
I've always been interested in music, just from as a kid, recording on our boom boxes, play and record and then
Right,
hear
right.
back and write down the lyrics. And it was
Okay.
just always in me. I always really loved it. And I actually got accepted into a program in Los Angeles for audio engineering.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
that was when I was kind of thinking about stepping away and heading towards
Okay.
a different career. I decided to go before my program started, just to see, is this for me? Is it not for me? I can't just go over there and expect everything to be handed to me. So
Right.
I went 3 months ahead to see, and I came back running. It just, it was
It's
Los
like,
Angeles.
nah, that's not it. That's not it.
It wasn't. Los Angeles just wasn't for me. It was, I call it a different planet. It's just, I come from a small town. So to go
Uh-huh.
from a small town to
So
a
big.
huge city,
Right,
yeah,
right.
it just
Ah,
wasn't for me. But I thank God that I tried, because then I feel like I would have regretted not at least giving
Not trying.
a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would probably always had it in the back of your head. Man,
Yes.
what if, coulda, shoulda
Mhm.
type deal. Wow, that is interesting. So you end up getting the inspiration to go into barbering and fell in love with it.
Yes.
Wow, wow, wow. So talk to us about making that shift. You had to go to school again, go through a
Actually,
barbering program. What did you have to do?
in the state of Washington, we have it where a licensed cosmetologist, can do anything a barber can do. But
Okay,
a barber cannot do everything a cosmetologist can do. And if you do
right.
want to do that, then you do have to go back to school as a barber going towards cosmetology. But
Okay.
the other way around, it doesn't. You can just become a barber. There's no
So no test,
no.
no practicum, no theory. You just wow. Wow. So here in the state of South Carolina, since we're on that subject of kind of crossing over, basically, if a cosmetologist wanted to get into the barbering, they would have to test in as a master hair care, because I'm a master hair care. It's on the barbering side or under the barbering umbrella. So it's like a cosmetologist, but under the on the barber side. So they would actually have to test, do a practicum, and I believe they have to do the theory as well. There's a set of questions. They may not, but I know for sure that they have to take the practicum. So they have to prep for that, go in and take the practicum, and once they pass, they're good to go. And as you said, a barber, unless they do master hair care, can't do what a master hair care does, or a cosmetologist. But in the state of South Carolina, if a cosmetologist want to cross over, they got to go under the master hair care umbrella under barbering
Oh,
and retest. But that is great. So in cosmetology, do y'all get any clipper training or no?
yes, yes, we
Okay.
do. We do get clipper training. When I went to school, I remember the instructor saying that straight razor was illegal, like nobody did it anymore, and it was. This is back in 1999, 1998.
Okay.
And so I took their word for it. Like, okay, we can't learn that. I guess that's just not legal anymore. And I barely found out in 2008 that was that wasn't correct. That what
Okay.
was illegal was in the state of Washington is using the same blade on different clients, where now it's legal to use disposable blades, and not too
Okay.
many people know that. I still have barbers tell me like, "Oh, it's illegal," and I tell them, "You heard the same words that I heard when I was in school." And it's not
Right.
correct. A lot of times, either they don't want to train you, they're not trained properly, and they can't train you,
Okay.
or they just don't know either. So,
Wow. So for here in the state of South Carolina, cosmetologists cannot use straight razors. However, they can use the razor that's guarded or covered for,
the
doing
feather
cutting
razor.
the hair. Yes, they can use those, but they cannot use a straight razor to, groom the beards or, remove any hair off the face, unlike a master hair care like myself or a barber. So, wow. So for you all, you can use them as a cosmetologist, a straight razor in the state of Washington. Wow. See, every state is different. And
Yes.
like you were expressing, you gotta know. Because if you go off someone else's word, then like you say, you either find out they don't know how to do it or they don't want to teach you,
Yes.
or just don't know because they haven't looked into what are the rules, what are the guidelines, what are the regulations concerning using a straight razor. And yeah, wow, wow. So not only can you do that, you can use the straight razor.
Yes.
How did you learn about using it? Did you
Um,
go to someone and they taught you, or yeah?
so at the barbershop that we were at, and I want to say maybe the majority of the area we were at, nobody was doing it. Nobody at all, because of what I think I went through. So nobody
Uh-huh.
was using it. We had a couple that moved from Los Angeles. And one of them, her husband had to get his Washington State license, barber license, but she had already had her barber license, and they just reciprocated it. But
Uh-huh.
didn't. So she actually came to work at the shop that I worked at, and she taught us all how to use it. But before she taught us, that's when I called the state and I was like, before I decide to do this or invest, is it legal? Like, what are
Right.
the rules? And I told her, my instructor told me this in 1998 that it's illegal. She's like, it's never been illegal. The state told me it's never been illegal. It's just that disposable blades is what you need to use now, instead of just using
The
the
same
pump. Yeah.
right. Wow. All right. Cuts by Rose says, let's go, Stephanie. All right. Wow. So, you know what? When I'm unsure of something, one of my instructors who's very knowledgeable of state board regulations, because she goes to all the board meetings. I'm getting better at it, but I don't attend them as much as I should, because that's where you learn what's coming in, what's going away, all the adjustments. I'll give you an example. So before, um, years back, cosmetologists and barbers could not work under the same roof. They had to there had to be a divide in the building where one worked on one side and the other worked on the other side. And I bring this up because um, I wanted to apply for a cutting position at a franchise, and because I wanted to learn how to cut straight hair. The school that I went to was in a predominantly Black neighborhood, so the individuals that came in were from the community. So I didn't get the opportunity to hone in on my skills for straight hair. And also the pandemic hit, so that's a whole nother story, going through school with that. But in that, I applied for this position. They turned me down and I was frustrated about it. I was like, what do you mean? Why can't we work? We can't. Didn't know. So I called my instructor, Miss Davis, and I said, Miss Davis, I'm upset. I I know I can work in here. Why? What is going on? Why can't we do this? They pretty much doing barber cutting anyway. They're mainly cosmetologists, and the salon and the shop, or the area that they were working in, was categorized as a salon. I said, but they doing 90% clipper work. So she was like, I think the governor changed that law. Give me a second. Let me look into this. Long story short, she sent me the updated law, and I called them. Well, I went back online and reapplied, and so be it. I got in. But nonetheless, what you're sharing is knowing for yourself. That's how information get passed down. That's either incorrect, not factual, or it could have been in place all the while, but we going off what someone else said. But you decided to, hey, let me find this out before I invest, so I'll know for myself. And I'm sure you have opened the door for so many to just do it, basically.
Yeah, I really take credit. I really give credit, sorry, to that two couple. It was Alex and Angelica, and Alex went to barbering school and shared all his knowledge with all those future barbers. So then
Wow.
it just exploded after that. Every barber that came out of school after that did straight right.
Using it.
Mm-hmm.
And see that shift, just the inquiry, the question, and wanting to find out how it opened up for others. And that's a game changer. And
Definitely.
look, you've always been changing the game.
Trying to.
No, you
I
are. You're
I
in.
just feel like
Yeah,
everybody
go ahead.
needs to, like, I feel like there's a stigma that we have to be scared of the state. Like, we have to be like, oh my gosh, on our like best behavior, but they're here for us. You know,
Right.
we're we're paying them to be here for us, so why
Right.
not get that information, the correct information, as soon as possible so we can apply it. Just recently, I've known for years now how to thread eyebrows, um,
Okay.
and the like Facebook pages were all saying like, oh, you have to be an esthetician or a licensed cosmetologist to do it. So I went off of that. Okay. So then when I opened my barber academies, I didn't teach it because I always thought, okay, these are just barbers, they can't do that. And then one of my students really wanted to learn. So
Right. Right.
let me call the state. Maybe something's changed. Maybe something's good with it. Call the state. The person that answered the phone call didn't even know the laws for it. So she went back and talked to her manager. The manager said, in the state of Washington, nobody needs a license to do eyebrow threading because it's considered a cultural practice. And
Right.
so
Right.
nobody needs one. Like my daughter can go thread eyebrows tomorrow if she decided to do a threading business.
Wow. What? See, another one. Another one. First with the razor, now with the threading. So you're able to implement that teaching in the academy for
Yes.
those who want to learn. Wow. Wow. And it's like you said, for those of you, whatever state you're in, if you're questioning or have don't know something, or someone has told you something, like Steph has said, use your board, use LLR. They are there for us and they can answer those questions. I email them a lot because I want it in writing per se. I
Mhm.
do call, but most times I email. Like I'll give an example. I'm eligible. I will become eligible at the end of this month to sit for my instructor license. And I was going back
Congratulations.
and forth with, thank you. I was going back and forth with someone. It's 3 years. No, I think it's one. I was like, no, it's three, and I'm up. So I reached out to them, asked them. They sent it back. May 31st will mark the 3-year mark for me. And
Nice.
I'm like, see, I knew it. But the thing of it is, utilizing them to verify, confirm, or provide us with the proper information. And
Definitely.
as Steph has said, they are there for us. So utilize them. That's what they get paid for.
Yes.
You know, and like you say, many people are afraid of them because what we know, oh, state board is coming in to check us out. You know, state board to be here to make sure all our licenses are up to date, or check the shop to make sure everything is in compliance. But we don't think about them being there for us to answer questions like that, provide us with the resources that we need to make informed decisions. Yeah. So
So,
razor, not
in your
threading eyebrow. Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, in your state, you have to have a certain amount of years in order for you to be eligible for instructor.
So with us, we go through 1,500 hours to before we can sit the state board. We have to accumulate 1,500 hours or more as a barber. And then once we take and pass both the practicum and the theory, we then go into apprenticeship year, unlike a cosmetologist. Once they pass their practicum and theory, they're set. They can go open up a shop, booth rent, whatever. They can pretty much do whatever. And then at the end of our 3-year mark, once we've become licensed after the apprenticeship year, we have to be licensed 3 years before we can become eligible to sit for the instructor examination. Yes.
Oh.
So, yeah. Yes. So, what is it like for you all there?
You get you get your license.
Uh huh.
The state of Washington cosmetology is 1,600 hours. Bar-
Okay.
Barbers 1,000 hours. As soon as you
Whoa, wait. Barbering is just 1,000 hours?
just 1,000 hours.
Wow. Wow.
It used to
I,
be. think 600, like when I first got out.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I knew every state was different, but I haven't heard 1,000 hours for barbering.
Hmm.
Wow. But
And as soon as you graduate, you're eligible to go into the cadet instructor program. And that, depending on your qualifications or your experience, they can credit you time served, is what the state calls it. So you could only have to do 300 hours, and you're a licensed instructor after you pass your state board exams.
right. So hold up, Steph. What is the cadet program? What
It's the
how do
instructor
you
program.
okay, so how is it set up? So how do
So
you enter into it?
So you go to a beauty school, barber school, and whatever instructor, if you want to be a barber instructor, you would have to go to a barber program that the school offers. And then you're mentoring underneath their licensed instructors. So
Oh, okay, gotcha.
it's 600 hours, but they can credit you. That's what I did, since I had so many hours, I mean so many years underneath my belt. They I only had to go 300 hours, so I was only there for about 2.5 3 months, and I was
Okay.
eligible to get my take my state board testing and then have my license.
Okay. Excuse me. So the credit you're speaking of is the number of years once you become licensed. Like for you, you spent 7 years before you crossed over.
Hmm.
So that time counted towards okay, gotcha.
Like taking down
Gotcha.
the three, if not, say, even a person that just graduated and just barely got their barber license, they can go for their instructor license like the day after.
Wow. All right, Brandy, that's my barber. She
Uh,
said, wow. She said that's let's see here. What she say? That's cool. Wish we had it like that here in South Carolina. I know, right, Brandy? We gotta wait 3 whole years before we can get into it. Yeah, so it's something. It's
it's
something. Thank
different
you
in
for
every
sharing that. Yeah, every state is different, and it goes back to what you said. Utilize LLR or whatever your state calls the licenses and regulation board for cosmetology and barbering. We shouldn't be afraid of them. We should maximize the resources that they provide us,
Yes.
to know these things, so we're not shying away from stuff that, oh, we can't use razors. Oh, we can't thread eyebrows and don't need to have any additional training or any special license for it. And look, you're sharing it with the next generation of professionals. No problem.
Definitely.
No problem. Okay, I got a second question. How can you describe what it's like entering in a male dominated space as a woman barber? So, making that shift, what was it like for you entering into the barbering arena?
um it was definitely, the conversations changed. It went from, what's the next reality TV, to the sports.
Right,
I had
right.
sports. I had to
Uh-huh.
learn the language of sports. Um,
Uh-huh.
Even though I'm not a huge fan, that's just, you have to learn the lingo. You have to learn all of that when you're in a male dominated area.
Right,
Um,
right.
I was fortunate. When I entered that barbershop, there was three other girls and one male barber, which was the owner. So I wasn't surrounded by male barbers per se at that moment.
Uh-huh.
Later on in time, I was the only female in a barbershop plenty of times. And it did change. I feel like they were a little more softer when I was around. The conversations were a little bit more reserved.
Right,
And
right.
I would tell them, feel comfortable. I don't want you guys to be here not feeling comfortable in your own space,
Right,
because
right.
I'm not offended unless you directly offend me, obviously.
I
But
like that. I'm not offended unless you directly offend me with your
yes.
conversation. All right. So Eric, I'm hoping Eric Sanchez says, was honored to have Stephanie as my barber and instructor. Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Yes.
Your
Uh,
students are coming through. They're coming through. That's
Eric
all
was one
right.
of my first students, and actually, he was a client of mine. And I had told him about my plans on converting the shop, and he was one of the first ones I reached out to and was like, "Hey, let's do this. You got it." And doing
Congratulations,
amazing.
Eric. Look at
Yeah,
that. Look at that. That's all right. That's all right. So for me, with being in a male, it's different.
yeah.
Conversations are different. Uh yeah, yeah. So I like what you said. It don't offend wait, repeat that. It don't offend me. Then I'm
It
not
won't affect
offended.
you unless you do. Right? I
Right,
forgot.
right, right.
We'll rewind it.
Okay, yeah, we'll rewind it. We'll rewind it. Wow. So is there anything else that you've experienced being in the barbershop um
um,
as a
I
female?
I I guess it was a lot of maybe I want to say, like, how could I say it? Like if the wives and the girlfriends would come in, then it would be a little bit more uncomfortable. Sometimes the wives were like right here watching me cut the hair, at the beginning. And it was very uncomfortable trying to, fade hair right there. But I, my advice for that is always include them. And then I would always like say, well, my husband and my kids, and we're going to the movies, or, just trying to make the air soft and
Right.
lighten up everything. It'd always be like, oh, so where are you going to take your girlfriend out to dinner tonight? Or you should go take her. She looks really nice today. Or,
Right.
just trying to make an
To
initial.
mitigate it, try to mitigate it, keep them
Yes,
included in the conversation or in the process. Step, I got to tell you, I do the same thing.
yes.
As a matter of fact, when I'm cutting and she's there in the barbershop with us, I always say, well, I know you want this, but how do you want him to look?
Yes.
Because they're seeing him, you know. So we're gonna take we're gonna take what you say into consideration, but she's looking at you. But
Hmm.
it's just a fun way to get them involved. And whatever I'm doing, if I'm going from one side to the other side, if it's a beard trim, how does he look? So
Hmm.
once I get their approval, have them engaged, I'm like, okay, because see, I'm here to take care of the service. I'm not interested in anything outside of that. So I totally get where you're coming from. You do, because you don't know what's on their mind or what's going through their mind when they see someone like yourself or myself or another female cutting them.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then even though we see that it's becoming more normalized to see females within the barbershops, it's still you don't see many concentrated in a lot of, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of areas. So it's still new to some individuals. Because I get old men, oh, I don't want her to cut my hair. Like, you just don't know. We're a little more detail oriented. Now, I'm not knocking our male counterparts, but just by sheer nature, we tend to be a little more detail oriented. So, and we know what looks good, right? We really know what looks good. But
For sure.
I, I feel you. Get them involved. So for you women out there who are cutting, shaving, beard trims, whatever, get the girlfriends, the wives, the significant other involved in the process.
Yep.
Okay, that'll alleviate a little stress on you. All right.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yes, yes. Anything else you want to share about that topic? Because it's a
I feel like I proved myself in the areas that I've been. I remember going to a barber competition and seeing a female up there, and she went in and did every battle, every competition. She was in on it.
hold
And
on. Let me show y'all that competition. That y'all see that trophy right there.
That was my first, and shout out to Herb the barber. He's my one of my greatest mentors. He's one of the best barbers in Washington State. He's been doing
So
it
which
for.
one is Herb? Which one?
Herb is
The gentleman on the
on
he's
the
on the
right
okay. Okay.
with
So
the
he's
hat.
okay. All right. Herb is the one with the cap, y'all.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So he's amazing. He's the one that is the originator of Battle of the Barbers. He is always that first barber competition that he did was all barbers, from the person checking you in to the person serving you drink to the judges to the people cooking the food.
Wow.
Everything was all barber orientated because he wanted it to be a closed network of people, so everybody was surrounded and talking the same language. So
Okay,
it was
that's
amazing.
genius there, Step. That's genius.
Yes,
So every aspect of the competition was a barber.
it was, even down
Wow.
to the vendors. The vendors had barber supply. I'm pretty sure he could have got all these corporate barber supplies in there, but no, he chose to bring in the local barbers that were trying to start out their own barber supply companies. He was doing great, doing great.
Wow. Wow. And who is the other gentleman to
He
your
was my
right?
model. He was my
Okay.
model.
He
Yeah.
looks sharp. He looks
Yeah.
sharp. That's
So,
awesome.
a funny story about that competition. He was alongside with my younger brother Jacob. That's his cousin from his mom's
Uh-huh.
side. And shout out to Jacob. And he walked out because I had to get my clippers and stuff together. And he was walking out with my trophy, and all the guys were just cheering him on, like, "Oh, I'm glad you won." And he was like, "Oh no, this is my sister's, like this isn't mine. This is
It's
my
not good.
yeah."
Wow.
It was a good day. It was a really good day. It set me off to just shoot for the stars, and I got that bug. When you get addicted, I don't have an addictive personality, but when it came to competing, that just sparked it in me. It sparked my passion back up. I mean, I didn't lose it, but it just gave me a bigger
That
sense
bigger
of
boost.
accomplishment.
Right, right. Wow, wow. That's awesome there. So after this particular competition, I know you won more. What else did you go on to do so they'll know? For those of you who are just tuning in and missed the beautiful introduction of Miss Stephanie Step, yes, she has competed and won several competition, including the what is it, the biggest barber battle in the US? Is
Yes.
that which one was that? Because there are a
So,
couple of them now, but
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, for sure. So that's Jay Majors puts it on. It's in Connecticut. It's called the CT Barber Expo,
okay,
and
yeah,
that
yeah,
just happened this last week. I think this last
okay,
weekend just happened for the year. And he also partnered up with Mayweather, the boxer. Well, the former boxer, his barber Jay Star.
uh,
He partnered with her, and they throw a second one, and it's getting pretty big as well. And they do it in Las Vegas, and I'm pretty
okay,
like in September time. And but it's really good. Really major brands are always there, the biggest
uh-huh,
competitions. So I tag teamed. So what that meant was you take a barber, a licensed barber, and a licensed cosmetologist. You put them together. You give them, I believe it was 60 minutes. I'm not sure, 60 or 90 minutes. It's been a little bit. And then you let the barber do his thing and on one model, and the cosmetology do their thing on the same model. So
oh, okay,
shout out to Nico. He's one of the best barbers in Washington or around the world.
okay,
He We got together and we competed. I took on the cosmetology role in that competition, and we took second place amongst, I believe there was at least 30 pairs, so about 60 people on that platform that day. So I took
wow,
second place. It was amazing year that year. um He's gone on, Nico's gone on and won multiple ones. He's won best of the best at the Las Vegas show. I'm just surrounded by great barbers.
Great.
I'm blessed
Wow,
to be surrounded by
that
great
is awesome. So after that, being in the competition, you eventually transition into the instructor phase of things. Do you still compete, or you just handle?
I'm starting to leave that to my students. My
Okay,
students are starting to compete.
okay, okay,
Actually, one of my students today he's competing in Seattle.
okay.
Yeah, so
Wow,
it's
wow.
neat to see them. One of my students, Danny, she competed last year and she took second place. And hopefully, the future, it just creating great barbers.
Okay, wow. That's awesome to have you as that role model to help prep them in the event that that's something they desire to do. And I believe that the younger ones are more into that. Me, I'm a little more seasoned coming into the industry, so I enjoy watching it, but I wouldn't necessarily compete in it, but I've had an opportunity to see some at the World Natural Hair Show in Atlanta, because I specialize in natural hair care, so I go to a lot of things as it relates to that. However, I've been hearing a lot about the what CT, the Connecticut Expo, the Barber Expo. I have not gone to any since I've become a barber, but I hear a lot about those barber showcases, those expos and shows. Wow, wow.
It's amazing. Like I think the first time I ever went to one, I told my husband how excited I was because we were all speaking the same language. Like when I'm around stylists, they're talking about foils and they're talking about balayage. I can't even say the word. and
Yeah.
um
You've
and
been
all
away from it too long. Now I'm just messing with
and all these other textures. And when
you.
I
Right.
go around barbers, we're talking about the newest clipper and the newest trimmers, like we're talking the same language. So when I go to these barber events, because when I first got out of beauty school, it was all about Cosmoprof's big, huge events. And
Right.
I remember going towards the barber section and it only being like American Crew, or a little bit of something. I forgot what the brand was called, but it was like a small little section on the side of the room,
Uh-huh.
very hidden. And then now to go from that to 24 years later and seeing how huge things grown, I can pretty much compare CT Barber to Cosmoprof's barber events because they're
Wow.
so big, and humongous, comparing them both. And it's nice to finally get that recognition, get to see, bar
How much has grown.
yes,
You know
the
what?
market.
I'm listening to you, and it seems like you was always drawn to it because you said when you was at the Cosmoprof, you went over to see kind of see what was going on, and I'm sitting here thinking like she had that little spark.
Yeah,
You was being drawn, to it.
I
So
think so. I think
it's amazing that you've not only gone into it, but you've excelled to the point where now you are inspiring the next generations of barbers with everything that you got under your belt. That's a blessing.
yes.
Wow, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. One more question. Well, two more. The next one is, how has your background in cosmetology influenced your barbering style or client approach? Because you had a lot of years in cosmetology. How how has that carry over? Uh, does it carry over? Uh, what are some things that you use from cosmetology that you transfer over into barbering? Is there anything that you really do?
Yeah, I feel like product knowledge.
Uh-huh.
Not too many barbers are. And now I kind of feel like it's a little bit more because there's the crop tops and they're actually doing more style to their hair. Where when I first got out, it was just like, oh, natural or a lot of gel on it, and
A
that was
little,
it. Yeah,
Let's get the what the pomade.
the
Yeah,
slick
yeah.
back.
The slip
Yeah.
back. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I feel like as a stylist, you go through a range. Like if you go to any of the beauty supplies, it's just like heaven of products. And
Right,
as
right.
a stylist, you get to really know, okay, this is gonna hold, this is gonna give matte, shine, and you kind of get that verbiage, and you get to know the knowledge of like different products and what they're gonna do for
Uh-huh.
your hair. And I feel like that helped me a lot when I did get into barbering, because I did have a lot of clients that were like, I don't use any products, but I would like to try some. So what do you suggest? And I already had that product knowledge, so I was able to transfer that into barbering, as
Okay.
well as styling. There's not too many barbers that before I hate to say before that would
Before, yeah.
style their clients' hair.
Hmm.
Using the round brush and actually giving them volume. And a lot of those styles now are very popular, having to use the round brush.
Uh-huh.
And that helped me. That helps me now, that helps me greatly with all the new trends that are going on.
Uh-huh.
It sells me into the future as to what we're going to be, how
What
we're going
can be? Yeah, what can be? Wow, wow.
to.
And just I keep going back to the vast knowledge that you have to impart into your students who are going out. They have a great advantage. So students coming out of Barber Pros Academy, y'all got a great advantage in step here with the cosmetology background. You're able to style oftentimes, and I'm going to say this, oftentimes barbers, some of them, and now more so than in previous times, have a problem with that shear work.
Mm,
You
yeah.
with that shear work, this the 45s, layering. And I'm a witness. Anybody comes in the hair in the barber shop and their hair is longer than mine, it's flowing like yours. Everybody point, Miss Yah-Tay.
She's
Like,
got it.
y'all
She's
learn
got
this
it.
stuff too. Why can't y'all do it? Nope, they just want to stick to the clippers.
Yeah.
Stick because your students have a great advantage, and it's my hope if y'all playing this back on the replay, y'all take advantage of the knowledge and the teaching that you have and step with the cosmetology background. In the end, it's going to carry you very, very far, especially if you can do both textured and straight hair, make you very versatile. Because oftentimes coming out of cosmetology school or barbering, we're kind of stuck to one or the other,
Yes.
based on where we were taught and then what we go into after we leave school.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hitting back on the topic you said about shear work, that was another good point. I remember going into a barbershop and saying, hey, can you just cut the top with the shears, and I'll go to my barber for the sides. I remember that a lot when I
Right,
first
right,
started,
right.
and I was like, well, I can do both, why not let
Well,
him?
you
Oh
gotta do
no, I only trust him with the sides, and I'll come here for the shear work, because I know most typically females know how to work with the shears.
you see
So
stereotype.
very,
The
very.
stereotype with women are good with shears, men are good with the clippers.
Hmm.
Wow, wow. So look, do they come to you now for both
Yeah,
shear
yeah.
yeah,
And it within my school, we start off with a long-haired mannequin, and
right.
they're cutting off an inch at a time, and they're getting that 0 degree perfect. They're getting, like the 180 degree. They're getting
Yeah.
all that shear work. So then when we do get a shorter 90-degree men's haircut, they already know and are comfortable with your shears, that it's not going
Hmm.
to phase them when they're doing like shorter hair. As
Right.
well as I bring in the textured haired mannequins. We do freehand afro texture, because you never know. You don't want to be that barber where they walk into the shop and I don't know how to cut that hair, or I don't know how to cut hair like that. And that's not fair. It's not fair to yourself to lose out on the money. It's not fair to the client that has to go somewhere else. It's just not fair.
And I'm glad that you are sharing that and also teaching that, because to this day, you still have a lot of shops that only really cut one texture or the other, because they either don't know how or they don't want to.
Hmm.
Oftentimes is that they don't know how.
Yeah.
And when you can, like, for instance, I specialize in natural hair care. So I do a lot of locks,
Nice.
natural hair braiding, but I also have a cross culture of not only culture, but ages as well. Of I can cut it all. And that's where you want to be when it comes down to cutting hair. So your students are getting cutting edge. That's going to help them in the long run. So if anybody comes through whatever shop they venture into, whether they be on their own, they'll know how to do it. Which brings me to, do your students have to go through an apprenticeship program after they get their hours?
Nope.
No, step. For
No.
real. So they
No.
can go right out. Once they pass the test, they become a licensed professional.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. We had to do another, we do our 1500, then we had to do another year of apprenticeship
Wow.
under a licensed barber before we could become licensed, a
Wow.
registered. Yeah. Wow. So with that, they can go out, open up their own shop. Wow.
Yes.
It goes back to, you got to look at your LLR, go to your state board,
Yes.
make sure you know the do's and don'ts, utilize them for the resources that they have to keep us from being afraid of them. And I oftentimes believe that the reason why that is so is because we don't know.
Hmm.
We
We
don't
do
know.
have one thing that they call an externship, and they can do it anytime within their 1,000-hour program as long as
Okay.
they enroll. So they can take 100 hours and put it into go to a barber shop. That barber or I guess who's mentoring you has to have at least a license for a year, and then they sorry it
That's
sent me
okay.
like a notification, and then you can take off 100 of the 1,000 hours, so that can happen anytime. I have a few students, and you can do it in multiple barbershops. So I had one student that wanted to learn beard work from this barber because he thought he was an amazing barber with beards, another barber with fades. So he took you know
Part of the
50
hour.
hours 50 hours here, 50 hours there, and that
Wow.
gets taken off of their 1,000 hours. So initially they only have to do 900 hours.
Wow. Wow. So they can, it's almost like apprenticeship within the program. So they
Yeah.
can go out at a set number of hours to go up under someone who's been a registered barber for at least a year.
Mhm.
I might need to move to Washington.
I personally like it, and a lot of times when they go into that, they end up staying there. A lot of times that's already their home, and the owners end up hiring them on. So it's
Okay.
kind of like your foot in the door already, and then it just
Wow.
gives you that experience. Unfortunately, there's some people that are starting from zero, and they've never, really had that barbershop experience, and then you have that person that's been cutting out of their house for 10 years in the garage. So
Uh-huh.
you do have a different feel from being by yourself to being with like a full crew of barbers, so it gives
Okay.
you that experience.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So do your program um I guess coordinate a network with other barbershops to get your students into those shops to begin their career?
Yeah, so I have been fortunate to actually, since I've been doing it for so long and my little town was so small, the majority of a lot of the barbers that have barbershops, I did their hair when they were like in middle school, in high school. So I built those relationships and kept those connections with them. So it's nice that they trust me and they trust my word. And I'm like, okay, this person's perfect for your shop, or give them a try, and then it's just keeping that connection with your local barbers. I always say there shouldn't be no competition. There's enough people for everybody.
Say it again. Say it
There's
again.
there shouldn't be no competition because there's enough people for everybody.
Thank you. And for those of you who didn't hear it, one more time, Miss Steph.
There shouldn't be no competition. There's enough people for everybody.
Yes, there, and I don't understand why the competition is there, but I get it. We have clients come in or customers come in. Who the best barber? We all can cut.
Hmm.
Anybody can cut.
Yes,
You know
that's
what I
my
mean?
answer. To be honest, that's
Right,
what I say too. No,
right,
gonna
right,
how am I gonna pick? Oh, that one. No, we're all great. You should give us all a try.
right,
Shouldn't. It's kind of almost belittling us before you can even get seated in the chair.
right. Right. Someone says, okay, hold on, let me put this up. Anna says, Garcia, great podcast. Proud of you, mom.
Oh,
Oh,
my
that's your baby
daughter.
girl. Ah, hey, baby girl. That's all right. Thank you so much for just taking time out of your day, taking time away from your family to join our podcast. I do got one more question,
Yes.
but I want to say um, this has been very enlightening from the perspective of the different states, knowing what states do what happens once you get out of school. Like, take for instance, for us, we have to go through a year of apprenticeship where your students and in your state, you can go right out into working. And then also the connection that you have with your community from where you've built years back. You've trained many of them, you've cut many of them. So that relationship is there and they trust your work, they trust your instruction, that your students come out and go right into the community.
Hmm.
That's that's a blessing.
Definitely.
That's really, really a blessing. So from the whole town, everybody know Barber Pro Academy. Barber
Yeah.
Pro Academy. You all are putting out excellent future professionals that can use the razor, that can thread eyebrows if they if they need to. And I know I'm joking about it, but it goes back to connecting with LRR, utilizing the resources, getting the information from those who set the guidelines and standards for how the industry is run.
Yeah.
And when we don't, what can happen? You went years without knowing that I can use a straight razor. And then thanks to the two individuals who brought that information to you, you
Hmm.
know, and you let me get a call before I invest my resources into this course to find out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now you've opened the door for others and teaching it.
Yes. For sure.
So that sets them apart. It really does sets them apart. Thank you, thank you. So my last question is, what advice would you give to women considering barbering but feeling intimidated by the male presence in the industry?
The advice I would give them is just go for it. Don't let nothing stop you. Don't let no obstacles stop you from doing what you love. As long as you love what you're doing, it should never be hard. It should
It's
never be
gonna work out. See, Step
definitely.
did it. Look at it there cutting up. Tell us about this here image here.
Yes. So that actually, speaking of being the only female, I'm not quite sure if you've heard of hair jams, but they started having hair jams right before COVID had hit. And what they are, it's where just barbershop will get local barbers or even barbers from other states come in and we just jam out. Everybody cuts hair. I always compare it to like art show, but the art is us cutting hair. So people come and socialize and meet each other. There's no competition. Everybody's just cutting hair. So we had the first one happen right before COVID in Fife, Washington, and I was the only female that was invited to do it. So I was
Wow.
very privileged, and that actually picture is from that event. It was amazing. We were all talking the same language. It was just a great, great day. And it was the first one, and we've had many since.
Wow, wow. So with that jam session, did y'all have a DJ?
We
I mean,
did. Yeah, they had DJ, they had food. It was amazing. It was
and
amazing.
how long was the session? Was it like a 24-hour thing? Was it like a 12-hour? Did it go for
Um,
an extended period of time?
yeah,
Um,
so they I know it started probably about 5 o'clock, 5-ish, and I don't think we left a little early, but I want to say they were still there till like 2 or 3 in the morning.
wow, wow. So how did it start? Who created it?
In
What was go ahead.
California was like the first ones that we had ever heard of, and then when they invited me to it, I had never even heard of it. I was like, hair jam? What? Explain to me, what does it entail? Am I gonna be competing with people, or what? And they couldn't even explain it, and that's why it's hard for me to even explain it to people. But
Gotcha.
it's a art show, but for barbers, where our art is our haircut.
It's the hair.
And
Okay.
then and you can have like 3 or 4 barbers on one model, cutting at the same time, and it's just a great time altogether.
Wow, wow. So do the individuals who come in to have the service perform, do they pay? Is
No,
there like a set? Oh,
every
okay.
everything is free there, and a
Free.
lot of times that's actually a barber that I'm cutting up. That's a barber from Seattle, so a lot of times they are other barbers that are willing to let us cut their hair and be a model for that day.
Wow, wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Step.
Yeah.
Um, I want to here is I gotta put your handles up. All right, friends, followers, those of you who are watching the podcast, if you're tuning in on the replay, do follow Barber Pros Academy and Step Ms. Lefty Barber. I gotta ask you, are you left-handed?
I am. I
I
heard
saw
you
it
say
there,
that
and in most,
intro.
yeah, I'm left-handed too, but I also try to work with my right hand as well, especially when I'm on the right side of the head, if I'm shaping an afro, because I want to be able to utilize them both equally. But I saw that, I was like, I gotta ask Steph if she left-handed. And then of course, was it just a coincidence that the barber shop was called Lefty's Barbershop? Is that
Yeah.
why?
So the original owner, he was left-handed, and
Okay,
he played baseball in high school, so everybody called him Lefty. That was his nickname. And then
okay.
he passed it on to his son, Jude, may you rest in peace. He passed it on to him, and he named it Lefty Juniors. And then when I got on, Jude was the original owner, and I always had joked with him for years, like, "Hey, I'm the only lefty. I need to name it Ms. Lefties. Like it has to go to me." Just joking with him.
Yeah, right, right.
But in the end,
Wow.
it ended up being, it was destiny. It truly was. And I always
Wow.
tell people, like, I do get left-handed students, and they're like, it's kind of difficult, if I'm watching videos and trying to see how to do a technique because I'm
We gotta
left-handed.
we gotta process it
Yes,
totally different. And
yes.
yes, yes,
And I
yes.
always tell them, we're left-handed, but we live in a right-handers world, so we have to just
So
learn
true.
to go with it. And that was kind of one of my obstacles when teaching. Before I decided to teach, I thought of that, like, because since I am left-handed, they're seeing it from the opposite side, and to be honest, that kind of stopped me from doing it sooner, because I thought they're never going to get it because I'm doing it differently. But
Opposite, doing it
I
different. Well, no, not doing the opposite. We're doing it differently, like you
yes,
said. Right.
yes. So
Wow.
I pushed that aside and just went for it. I just said, I can learn how to show them from this side. I can, I can do it, and I just went
Yeah.
for it.
And you have done it and you're still doing it. And speaking of lefty, I gotta tell you this. So how about I was cutting with right hand shears for the longest.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know how to tell the difference. And I was ordering some shears off of Amazon. Yes, I ordered some shears from Amazon, y'all. And I kept saying, why are they sending me right-handed shears? So I went on YouTube Anniversary and I found a video that showed me how to tell the difference. Come to find out, I was issued right-handed shears in school. I thought they were left-handed because that's what I asked for. They were right-handed. So I had to teach myself how to cut properly with left-handed shears. It was a time because I was cutting with right-handed shears
I,
for
I still can. I bought Hanzo left-handed shears. I don't even use them because I am so used to right-handed shears.
me. Oh wow. I I had to switch over. I had to switch over. And for those of you who don't know, the blade on the shears is on the left hand side for lefties, and it's on the right hand side for those who are right handed.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Steph. Any closing remarks, anything that you want to share? And I'm
Um,
going to share this from someone while you're,
yeah.
is it Vasquez says, Stephanie is a great instructor and person who inspires me every day. Jose, oh, thank you. Thank you. She
Thank
is. I've only known her for this short period of time, and I can tell just by your sheer determination to finish the program and reading your bio, I was like, your students have a gem in you. They really, really do. And your determination and tenacity, the support from your family to undergird you to keep going. And before burnout, you said, let me make this shift. And you made the shift. Now look, a whole nother level, and you're inspiring the next generation of professionals, along with knowing we can use, I'm gonna go back to it, we can
you.
use a razor and we can thread eyebrows too.
Yes. Yes, you can.
Utilize your board, you all. All right, Steph, what is it that you would like to share with us? Any closing remarks, anything you want to share?
I just want to share that I appreciate you for letting me on your podcast. You're doing amazing things.
Thank you.
There's not too many people that are utilizing the podcast for female barbers, and I appreciate you going and taking the time out
Thank
every week
you.
and doing it. You're gonna do amazing things, and you're going to go super far. Um,
Thank you.
and I just want to tell everybody that I appreciate all my supporters throughout all the years. I appreciate all my customers, all my students, my family. They've been so supportive. My husband, Lionel, he's the greatest. He's been my rock. If you see him in any of the pictures, he was my models at all the competitions. He was the one lugging everything around when I was, flying here, flying there. He's my rock. So I just want to say that I love him so much, and I appreciate everything that everybody's, all the support that everybody's given me. His family, my family, everybody's been truly great.
It takes a team. It takes a team, and
Definitely.
it um I won't say it sounds like, I know that you have a great support system in order to be able to do the things that you have done and continue to do. So your circle, your community is very I can see that is very supportive, and I wish you nothing but continued success, prosperity, and continued growth. I'm hoping that you're gonna have another one here soon, another school here soon. 'Cause what I'm seeing and also what I'm hearing, I've had an opportunity to go, look at your Instagram and stuff. You got a great team. Y'all are doing some amazing things in Washington. So I wish you all nothing but continued success
Thank
in
you.
near future. Yes.
You
Thank
too.
you so much for your time.
Thank
You all, this has been episode number 19. What is this? Cosmetology, from cosmetology to clippers, thriving as a woman in a male dominated industry. And as you all can see, Step has gone from, school to being a young mom to going through the pandemic, through becoming an instructor, and now she's teaching these wonderful students. She's been a competitor. She brings that to the classroom for those who want to go into competition. Y'all have a gym in Steph, so take advantage of it in a good way. In a good way, take advantage of the knowledge and the resources that she brings. And I wish you, as I said before, continued success. Thank you so much,
Thank
Stephanie, for
you.
joining the podcast.
Thank you.
Enjoy. You take care.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.